and take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. We're just here to review what we're looking for in terms of applications for this upcoming LOI for the Translational and Clinical Studies Pilot Studies Program. My name is Elizabeth Griffiths. I'm clinically based at Roswell Park, but I collaborate with Dr. Sethi, and I get to be part of this wonderful CTSI program. Erin, next slide, please. So the goal of the Translational Science Pilot Studies Program is to provide funding for UB, Roswell Park, and other affiliated groups to develop preliminary results for larger extramural grant proposals. And I'd just like to say that this has been a remarkably successful endeavor over the last years, and we're really excited to invite new applications this year to join the extraordinary list of previously funded projects. Next slide, please. So every year we have $200,000 in annual CTSA funding, which is dedicated to translational science projects, and an additional $400,000, which is provided from the institution itself via various modalities, including from the provost, from VP for Research and Economic Development, from the VP for Health Sciences, from Roswell itself, from the deans of the 5 health sciences schools, as well as from the Dean of the School of Engineering and Applied Science. And this year, we're going to have another partnership, which includes business and entrepreneurship, which really is exciting and will hopefully spur additional applications with the idea to really build economic development and entrepreneurship within our group. Next slide, please. So you can see here the list of funding awarded over the last 10 years from 2015. Every year we've been awarding $600,000, and we've been awarding slightly more awards over the most recent time periods. And this has resulted in a remarkable return on investment. So you can see of $7 million in, awarded, we've had 131 publications and a return on investment of $51.5 million. So we're really excited about this. We think this is an extraordinary endeavor. Next slide, please. Every year, the LOIs and then the full applications are reviewed for scientific merit and innovation, clinical significance, and the impact in terms of potential for translation, the potential for these applications to secure extramural funding and to yield generalizable solutions to translational science questions or bottlenecks. We are really focused on choosing applications that have realistic milestones and the potential for feasibility to complete within a year of the application award. And rationale and use of the proposed budget is also highly relevant. Next slide, please. So we prioritize studies and projects that address health disparities within our catchment area, particularly those that develop approaches to overcome a translational science barrier. This is particularly important for us as the Translational Science Institute. We also are very excited about applications that pair early stage investigators with established investigators who have a history of extramural research funding. We are excited about creating this structure to support mentoring across the institution with junior and senior faculty. And we're really also excited about multidisciplinary collaborations across departments, schools, and institutions. And we want to have applications that have clear and substantive plans for extramural funding to continue to build on this history of successful extramural funding on the basis of our awards. Next slide, please. So to this end, I just want to provide a couple of definitions, and this is always challenging, even for us when we review grants, okay? So translational research is the discipline that takes scientific discoveries in the lab, from the lab to the clinic, transforming them into new treatments and interventions that improve health. That's translational research. A lot of us do that. I certainly do that. I have a lab and I bring things to the clinic. But the field of translational science is actually designed to understand the scientific and operational principles that underlie each of the steps in translation. And so the projects that are funded for translational science may not necessarily have all those aspects of translational research. They may be associated with, we have a great idea, but its ability to get into patients has been limited by specific barriers. And how do we address those barriers? The intent here is to expedite translational research in order to get things effectively and safely and quickly from the laboratory to real treatments for patients across a swath of individuals. And so this is really what the translational science approach is designed to address. Next slide, please. So a translational research question might be, we have a new drug. Is this treatment for hypertension that's new, superior to the standard of care? And that's the translational research question. But the translational science question is, how do you effectively represent the population that you're interested in treating in a clinical trial, given that less than 10% of our clinical trial enrollees are underrepresented minorities? And so we may do a clinical trial, and then our outcome, our result may not actually give us insight into how to treat the patient who's sitting in front of us. And so two potential proposed trials to address this translational science question are to look at, if we use a recruitment strategy A versus recruitment strategy B, does this improve our ability to effectively represent our catchment area within the clinical trial population? And then to assess the results of the two strategies in recruitment of a representative population. Next slide, please. Another example, so a translational research question might be, is a new drug effective for delaying dementia in people with Alzheimer's? But in point of fact, people with low income are underrepresented in trials of Alzheimer's disease because these people never even go to get seen and never get evaluated by a neurologist and never potentially get opportunity to enroll in such trials. And so the translational science question for this research question might be, to what extent does discrimination by the algorithm contribute to underrepresentation of such populations with adverse social determinants of health in clinical trials? Scheduling algorithms encourage double booking for lower income patients, and this can be completely opaque to those of us who are actually treating patients. Next slide, please. So a proposed translational science trial that might address this disparity is to analyze the algorithms that are used by different clinical trial management systems and to conduct a trial of Alzheimer's disease interventions in which participants are randomized into groups scheduled and managed using different algorithms, and to assess endpoints of recruitment and retention participants. And so I think these examples can give you a feeling for, this is kind of the nuts and bolts of translation, as opposed to necessarily the overarching translational science, translational research question. Next slide, please. So this is the spectrum of translational science. This is a cool graphic from the National Center for Advancing Translational Science. You can see that the patient is at the center of this idea, and it's, developing new approaches, demonstrating usefulness, and disseminating the findings of research that are really at the heart here, with the patient as the center point here, such that we effectively are able to offer patients these novel ideas in an effective way that really gets to them. Next slide, please. So this is an example of some of the translational sciences pilot studies that we have evaluated, and the generalizable principle or tool that's been developed from these studies. So I hate to read things off this, but I think it's important to go through this. So the pilot study that was funded is to create a short video to help understand the process for accessing kidney transplants in African American populations. And the generalizable principle here is to develop and test a culturally tailored tool to increase health literacy in marginalized populations. You can appreciate that it's not just in order to get access to kidney transplant that this might be effective, but across a spectrum of different health-related interventions. Another example, to optimize data-driven drug development tools like CANDO, which is the computational analysis of novel drug opportunities, which is something available to us through the UB program, to include tracking of drug interactions. And the generalizable tool is to assess and advance a powerful informatics-driven drug discovery tool for use by others. So not just the single drug that's being tested, but the process of developing those drugs using this approach. And then working with pharmacies in under-resourced communities to screen and address social determinants of health. This is actually putting these structures into the pharmacy itself. And this allows us to assess approaches into placing community health workers in neighborhood pharmacies in order to facilitate enrollment, not just in clinical trials, but in other processes. And there are a variety of others that we funded over the years here that you can read yourself. Next slide, please. So our timeline here is that we have released our request for proposal in late March of 2026. We're having this information session just to make sure everybody's aware of what's available. The letters of intent are due May the 18th by 9 a.m. and we will notify those who apply of who's been selected for a full application in June of 2026. And we're going to request full proposals due end of July 27th, 2026 by 9 o'clock. And we're going to notify applicants of successful award in November of 2026. And then we will prepare and submit prior approval documents to the NIH and NCATs beginning in November of 2026. And the award start is January the 1st, 2027 for this award cycle. Next slide, please. So in terms of producing a letter of intent, we want a cover page that includes a succinct title, the name and degree in the title, as well as the institutional affiliation of the investigator or investigators involved. We have a one-page limit with an abstract summarizing what the project entails, a clear statement of the translational research and or the translational science significance. And again, we really are interested in the translational science question. Not all of the applications we fund include translational science, but we certainly have an emphasis on that. What are the expected outcomes and potential application of those outcomes, and how this pilot study is going to lead to extramural funding for you. And again, we want a single PDF in Arial 11-point font, single-spaced with half-inch margins at the minimum. So thank you very much. Next slide, please, if you can stick to these. Again, this is our approach. We have the RFA, which is released to circulate widely. We request the letters of intent. We invite full proposals. Once the full proposal has been invited, then we have a couple of different specialized resources that are available to people who are submitting those full proposals. I'm going to talk about those in the next couple of slides, including something called a D&I consult and a research on a napkin consult, which we strongly encourage those who are selected to submit full applications to use. They've been really good. And then we have scientific peer review, which we do with sister institutions who also have CTSI pilot studies programs, so that we don't have any risk for conflict of interest within our small community. We collaborate with the Penn State CTSI. And then for those that are not chosen, we sometimes recommend collaborations within the institution. We sometimes refer these proposals to CTSI cores, and we connect people with mentors if we see potential for those proposals to come back next year and potentially be funded. And then we fund the proposals, and there's regulatory review and support, and then we monitor quarterly reports for outcomes. Next slide, please. So this is our executive committee. All of us are really excited, and we really enjoy reviewing these proposals. We love to do it, and it's kind of a labor of love. Next slide, please. So if you get selected based at the LOI stage, we are going to invite you to participate in something called Research on a Napkin. This provides pilot studies program applicants the opportunity to receive feedback on the application from BERD core members in a 30-minute session. So we ask you to fill in this online tool, which appears on the right side of the screen, including the name of the person, your email, the grant title, what are the objectives of your study, does it involve human subjects, do you have a proposed sample size, and is it justified, do you have a data analysis plan, and how this would advance future grant proposals. And our core facility faculty members will review this and give you really salient, helpful feedback. In fact, we have had significant improvements and really great success for applications that participate in this Research on a Napkin program. Next slide, please. You can see here the proposals that include a BERD team member were twice as much more likely to be chosen for funding. This really promotes this interdisciplinary team approach. It's modeled after approaches used at other CTSA hubs. And you can get this outside review of your proposal right at the beginning, and you can get feedback that helps you to fix your proposal so that it gets selected and is successful. So again, we're really excited about this option for people who get selected for the LOI. Next slide, please. And then the other thing that's available is a dissemination and implementation core consult. Remember that our focus here is on translational research. And the idea here is you can use your proposal to really get the results that you get to be broader applicability. And so this group, this core facility will help you to do that effectively. This assists in integrating our community perspectives to ensure the research is relevant and impactful, and it can help you tailor evidence-based interventions. This has been also very, very successful and really helpful for grants. Also helps with external funding as well once you have this included in your grant. Next slide, please. So I think the next set of slides here are on what studies we funded in the past. So this is a slide. This was a study that was funded in the 2021 grant program. Lise Kyler, who's a clinical professor of surgery, looked at the feasibility of e-health educational interventions to increase access to kidney transplant. And this was supported, this supported work was published in Transplantation and provided preliminary data for a successful R01. You can see here common issues after kidney transplant and donors. Next slide, please. The next pilot study that we want to highlight is from Dr. Adalaya Ogala, who was funded in 2022, and she her proposal was titled Hijacking Therapeutic Resistant and High-Risk Locally Advanced Prostate Cancer. Again, she had a high-impact publication in PNAS in 2024 and also got an R01 grant funded in 2024, looking at post-translational modifications of glucocorticoid receptor associated with drug resistance in prostate cancer. So wonderful work here. Next slide, please. And then an earlier grant funded in 2018, aligning with schools to help manage asthma. This is called Project Asthma. This was a pilot school-based health intervention to improve asthma care in high-poverty schools. This was funded with an R01 grant from the NIMHD and got a huge grant, $3.3 million grant here, which was funded through 2028 by Dr. Holmes. So really exciting, improved outcomes for these patients. Once you are funded, we will invite you to come and present your work, and it's required that you come and present your work at the Pilot Studies Colloquium, which is held in December of each year. We held our last one in December of 2025. We got oral reports from our 2023 pilot study program and 2025 community seed grant awardees, and we did some progress reports via poster for the 2024 pilot study awardees during the breaks. We had a presentation by our pilot studies leadership, including Sanjay and I, introduction to this program, and our next scheduled colloquium will be December 10th, 2026. So mark your calendars. Next slide, please. I think that's the end.